Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Unwinding the Spool podcast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined by one of my best friends, Will, and we are two guys that just absolutely love 3D printing. If you guys haven't joined us yet on any of our previous podcast episodes, we've already recorded basically our season one. I think we put together a total of about 9 episodes. If that's, I think I'm correct there, Will.
We're at 9 episodes.
9 episodes. So we talked a lot about the basics of 3D printing and some of the really big beginner kind of hobbyist level getting into 3D printing questions and conversations and things like that. And we had a lot of really good conversations and produced some really good content. And we got some really great feedback from some people reaching out to us via email or YouTube comments. And so I really love doing it. It's a good way for Will and I to stay in touch because he's up in the Bay Area. I'm down in Southern California. So it's a good excuse for us to get together and talk about one of our biggest passions here. So we took a little bit of a hiatus. We both really got busy in our professional and personal lives for several different reasons. But we are excited to get back on the train here and get going on season 2 to hit the ground running. So if I left anything out, Will, I mean, do you want to kind of reintroduce or kind of share?
Sure.
I don't know.
No, absolutely. I'm Will. Andrew and I started this podcast because we want to talk about 3D printing, and we realized there wasn't a whole lot that kind of went through the basics with 3D printing specifically and with kind of an education standpoint in mind. And so I'm just excited that we get to continue this. I mean, we've had thousands of listens to these podcasts. Some of you, I mean, just looking at this, I can't believe the support y'all have given us. We've got, almost 1,000 listens for our CAD for 3D printing episode, almost 1,000 for our buying your first 3D printer episode. So I really appreciate everybody that's kind of taken a listen and tried out our podcast because we started this just to have fun. We're definitely not in it for having the people for having the fame, so to speak. But we definitely, it helps us keep wanting to do this when we have that kind of support. So it's been awesome. And especially the support of people who reach out and say, hey, this is a great thing. And also, wanting to kind of be a part of that ecosystem. So we're really excited this year.
Yeah, it's been a fun little thing that Will and I have been doing here. We started, I think at the end of 2021, and then we went through about May of this year. And then, like I said, we just both got really busy. Summertime hit, and I think it's really fun for both of us because Will is a teacher professionally. And I think I just really love to teach from a hobby standpoint, sharing my knowledge and things that I've learned from my experience with my 3D printers here at home, at work and things like that. So it's fun to share all that with you guys. And I guess a quick little backstory. If you guys want our full background, go to episode 0 of season 1. But Will and I met when we were both in engineering school at UC Irvine and freshman year, and we went all the way through senior years together. And I think it was towards the end of our junior year, Will asked me to join in on this really awesome 3D printing project that they had going on regarding recycling plastic and using it for, an environmentally, kind of eco point of view. And I hopped on, and the rest is history there. I just fell in love with it. And and that's my full-time job now. So I think that's a good transition, Will. Maybe you want to kick it off with what's been going on? You don't have to go in crazy detail, but just kind of how's everything going and, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of things have changed and happened since we were last putting out the podcast. I'm now in a house. I got a house here in the Bay Area, which is no small feat, especially with prices these days.
Yeah.
I started a new position at my school. I'm now teaching math full-time to 5th grade, which is really fun. And also been going to grad school to get my credential for full-time. And on top of that, I got engaged to my lovely fiance now. And so that was really fun. That's really awesome. And lots of kind of big life moments. Got a new cat. So now we have 2 cats and a dog.
Family is one.
Yeah, gotta pitch that one out there. let's see what else has happened recently. I'm trying to think of some big life updates. In terms of kind of somber news, the era of closed-loop plastics has come to an end. So that company that I started has bookended. But what's cool is I'm still getting to work on the side on some projects with the people that I got to meet along the way in that process. And that's going to be really fun as we develop some projects for some big companies and small companies alike. Plus, it allows me to also keep working on this without having to worry about it paying my bills. So that's kind of nice, as I get to kind of just enjoy the process of designing and engineering rather than just constantly going, man, I love this idea, but I don't know if it's going to pay us any money. So that's been really cool. What's going on with you? There are some cool updates for you as well.
No. So I'd say the big one for me is I changed jobs. So I won't go into too crazy details on like what I'm doing or where I'm at, but so in early summertime, I had the opportunity presented to me to change jobs. And for those that don't know, I was already working in the aerospace industry doing 3D printing. But then there was another opportunity that kind of came my way, and it was basically, in essence, a dream job. And that's the best way to describe it to people is it, for all different reasons, location-wise, the team and everything, I changed jobs to go to this new company. And it's still in the aerospace industry, and it's on a team that is dedicated for additive manufacturing. So I'm surrounded by a bunch of other engineers and technicians that just live and breathe 3D printing. They love it. We do all different kinds of 3D printing. Your standard FDM with high temperature thermoplastics. We do SLS printing with carbon fiber filled nylon, and then we also do metal 3D printing with titanium and aluminum. So it's really cool to be a part of this team that is just basically on the cutting edge of additive manufacturing or 3D printing in the aerospace world. So I'm really happy with that. It's a great team to be a part of, and it's really challenging me and growing my skill set as an engineer. So that's really the big update for me. So that happened in June, or that's when the process all started. So that definitely occupied a lot of my time as far as figuring out how I should transition jobs, because I was obviously really excited for it, but at the same time, it's a lot of work to change everything, all your benefits and stuff like that. So I'm really happy where I'm at, though. Really happy to be there. So it's a really fun company to be at, and it's like literally in my backyard, basically. So it's pretty cool. Don't have to commute over the Coronado Bay Bridge anymore.
That is nice. That is always nice when you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, did a little traveling over the summer, do our yearly Mammoth trip, and then been doing stuff around the house. We just had all our floors redone, so that was another thing. So for anyone that's redone all their floors, I know we're kind of getting on tangents here, but just because it's we redid all our floors, and I 3D printed all of them. No, I'm just kidding. That would be cool.
I was like, how does it bring it back? We can loop it back. He used
that actually be a good idea for a company. It's like a 3D printed floor. Maybe we shouldn't publish this, Will. We should wait.
yeah. We should hang on. Write that down.
We need to get a patent going.
Yeah, let's get this patented, and then we'll talk.
Yeah. No, but other than that, actually related to 3D printing, I've 3D printed a few things for you can see my lovely project car behind me, my 2001 C5 Corvette. So I got a new exhaust system on it. So I 3D printed some spacers for the exhaust system and things like that. And been actually having a lot of sales on my Etsy store. So for those that don't know, I have an Etsy store where I have two products right now. One is a digital download for my homemade go-kart for the blueprints. And then I have a spacer kit for how to repair one of the fenders on this car. And I've been selling a lot of those. So I've been 3D printing those and 3D printing some other, gifts for family and friends. I actually just 3D printed my first lithophane using a picture that someone sent me. So that was pretty cool getting to try that out using the free lithophane maker online. But other than that, just working and having fun. Doing good overall. But I'm excited to get back in the routine here with you and the podcast.
Yeah, I put it on my weekly checklist. I rescheduled out my weekly checklist, and I said, okay, check in on making episodes.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
the dog
That's good.
barking its head off. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah. No worries. And now a quick minute from our sponsor. Just kidding. We don't have sponsors yet. Maybe
Yet.
someday.
Yet one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome, man. And I mean,
Yeah.
as we get started again, I actually was thinking, it's funny you mentioned the Etsy store, because I'm thinking, Laura and I are thinking of actually launching an Etsy store
Nice.
for like, basically, Laura wants to come up with cute craft ideas for housewares, and then I'll design and print them. So we'll see.
Dude, the sky's the limit. And honestly, setting up an Etsy store and doing like the shipping and logistics is pretty straightforward. So
It is, yeah.
cool.
It's true.
Yeah, if anybody else listening out there that has that could be a good podcast episode. See, we're thinking of ideas as we speak here. Opening
go.
an Etsy store for 3D printing stuff for a specific niche, because sometimes there's things like never in a million years would I have thought that I'd sell 12 of these spacer kits, and I sold one and sent it to Dusseldorf, Germany. So if you're the gentleman who bought that in Germany, thank you. I also shipped one to Iceland. So apparently there's Corvettes in Iceland and Germany that need the fenders repaired on them. So it's cool to see what kind of reach you can get with very niche, designs and products and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing also is creating, I've been getting ready for our wedding, and I'm creating like custom packaging and things for some gifts I'm giving out to the groomsmen.
Ooh.
Andrew knows he's getting one of those. But yeah, the sky, I love that you say that the sky's the limit kind of a thing. And I think that's something that, as we talk about this season, we're going to talk a little bit more about other ways you can 3D print and truly how almost limitless this technology is, especially when you get into really advanced forms of it.
Yeah.
And new applications. So do you want to start off talking about what we're going to be discussing on this season of Unwinding the Spool?
Yeah, actually, why don't you start off, because I actually don't have that list pulled up that you texted.
Oh, you're good.
Do I? Why don't you go for it, and then I'll pull up the list and I'll hit the next point.
You fill in. I can list out the episodes that I have here, and then maybe you can run in with the lists you have over there as well.
Sure.
So a few things we want to talk about: materials, including like fused deposition modeling, or fused deposition manufacturing. Sorry, and annealing,
filament fabrication.
Yeah, or FFF. But talking about different materials.
Yep.
Post-processing techniques. So what to do? You've printed it out. You want it to look a little bit more chef's kiss, a little more perfect. How do we do that? Different types of printing. So we're going to finally get into things like resin printing, talking about other more advanced kinds of printing. Then we're going to have an episode on the hardest project that you've ever done in 3D printing. I've definitely got a few that I've slammed my head into a wall over. And then one of them was very simple, and it seemed almost so simple that it should be easy, and then it wasn't, and I hated it. We also have 3D printing in different industries. So how is 3D printing used, not only in aerospace and also the education world, but what else? Where else is it used? Then we're going to talk about primary education and 3D printing and how we can use it to kind of augment our universal design for learning and augment how we basically create more inclusive classrooms. And then we'll also talk about design for additive. So using things like ISO grids. I just have that note. I don't even know what that is, Andrew. What is an ISO grid?
It's basically a structure or a pattern of some kind. And if you have a flat surface, basically putting that pattern on a flat surface or wrapping it around a curved surface. So it could be triangles, it could be hexagons, it could be a waffle structure like grid. And it's basically adding ribs to your part. So, it's kind of like sheet metal. When you add a bend to a sheet metal piece, it's going to make the sheet metal a lot stiffer and stronger than just like a flat piece of sheet metal that's all wobbly. So it's a great way to stiffen your 3D printed parts by just adding a grid structure flat or wrapping it around the surface. So there's some good tutorials on YouTube on how to do that on SolidWorks and things like that. But it was something that I learned at my new job, and I've been heavily using that while I've been there. So there's a lot of good, what's called DFAM, design for additive manufacturing best practices, that if you're a maker or an engineer or whatever your position is, that you actually design parts from the ground up. You're not really just focused on actually just 3D printing designs that are already ready to go. Learning some good DFAM practices are a really good way to not only make your prints better, but they push the 3D printing industry forward, because then you can capture new applications and things that you wouldn't have been able to before.
Absolutely. Any other episode ideas you have on your end?
Well, I've got my little list here that I found on literally a note card that we put together when we were chatting one time. But I think we kind of already touched on it, is opening an Etsy store. That's something that I haven't written down on here, but opening an Etsy store or any kind of storefront. It doesn't even have to be a digital storefront. It could be, you go to, I don't know, farmer's market, but like a farmer's market type thing where people sell jewelry and things like that. You could 3D print stuff or advertise for it. And, like I said, 3D printing, there's so many different applications for it. And if you have a specific, let's say you're really into gardening and there's some type of, tool or piece that doesn't exist in the mass market at like Home Depot, but you could make it yourself and sell it. So I think opening an Etsy store and how to do that and make a little side income would be a good episode. Kind of already touched on it. So there's one of the things we were talking about was different types of polymer printing. So there's not just FDM, where you've got a filament that you're melting and then extruding it like a hot glue gun. You got resin printing, like Will said. You got printing with polymer powder. That gets a little bit more expensive industrial scale, but still worthy to talk about because of the applications. Same thing with metal 3D printing. So we've got many different types of metal 3D printing, all the way from laser powder bed fusion to directed energy deposition, where you either have a wire or blown powder, and it's like robotic welding, basically. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with that for larger structures. LSAM printing, so large scale additive manufacturing, where you literally have a giant gantry crane that you can make a 3D print a boat hull, so things like that. We'll talk about in more detail. High temperature polymers, really high class engineering grade polymers. And then we'll already touch on this 3D printing in the classroom. Going off my list here. Oh, and then also 3D printing metal at home. That's kind of becoming a thing to some degree. So there's a way to 3D print metal at home with a few modifications to your kind of desktop level printers. So that'll be pretty cool. I think we got a lot of good content to talk about. And on top of those main kind of episode ideas, we also are going to sprinkle into the podcast a few different sub clips or subtopics,
like recurring bits.
Yeah,
recurring bits.
So one of them, and some of it's for kind of cool, that's awesome, and some is just for a good laugh. So one's going to be called The Ooze, and that is basically a really funny 3D printing fail that we have come across, in whether it's a part, the printer failing, et cetera, and then just maybe a quick little blurb on how to learn from it or maybe what went wrong. And then the next one was going to be 3D printing in the news. So on LinkedIn or different social media platforms, there's different ways that you news about 3D printing is published. So we maybe share some of those topics. For instance, this past week, Artemis 1 launched, and there were some 3D printed parts on Artemis 1. So that's
cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's so cool.
Yeah. And then, Will, what was the other one we were going to kind of throw in there?
Was it Spoolside Chats? Was that the other one?
Or that was Spoolside Chats, but then you want to do Print of the Week?
Print of the Week.
Yeah.
So we're going to have, it might not happen every episode, but Andrew or I are going to find, or both of us are going to find a cool thing on like Thingiverse or Printables or something like that, any of these websites that have models, and just print it out and kind of feature a print of the week that we think is just cool to do and try it on your own printers at home. It might offer a unique challenge. It might offer some ways of uniquely setting up your printer. It might maybe be an excuse to try a new material, but it'll just be something fun that you can try at home as well, and we can talk about our experience with it to help you out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Phrase of the day. See, that's our season theme. Sky's the limit. Yeah. Yeah. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, about 8 months we've been off the air. Yeah. We're back. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I'm so thankful again for everyone's support and for giving us a listen. And we are really excited to get started with season 2. We're going to try to put out episodes pretty regularly, and hopefully it'll be something y'all like.
Awesome. All right.
Adios.